So in this video, I'll be going off script as I've never prepared anything to read or guide myself upon throughout making this entirety of this video. In this video, I'll be discussing the 10 things that I have learned from Jeff Cavaliere, aka AthleanX, as you have known. He's a very prominent name and figure in this space and realm of the YouTube fitness industry. If you've been watching the YouTube fitness industry long enough, since the Hodge twins, Rich Piana, he is a very well-known and famous guy from then up until now. And I've been following him since 2015 or 2016 up until the early 2020, just at the start of the COVID-19 lockdown, amidst the controversies and dramas he is related to, his training philosophies, his diet and food advice, exercise selection, most especially the face pulls, which I am still doing now for shoulder health and mobility reasons. He has quite, I would say, has put good advices in some of his most. He has a few golden tidbits of well and good information that I am still applying to this very day. If you are going to at least say some negative things to a specific identity or a specific entity or figure, might as well start with the good. So, number one, the good thing or tip that I have learned from Jeff is that training abs almost every single day, at least every single day, is doable. So, when I was starting, I actually started with calisthenics in my room, in my bedroom, almost every single room that I have been in my home. I've been doing a lot of push-ups, and I superset it with a lot of ab exercises that you would most certainly find in Instagram search feeds or even in Facebook up until now, which I'll be showing the specific ab routines that I used to do back in 2014 2015. Surprisingly, obviously, uh, Jeff is one of the well-known figures in the YouTube fitness industry to incorporate and advise beginners up until advanced level athletes or lifters in general in training abs almost every single day if they want to have results. Along with your diet and nutrition, obviously, and if most especially if you're on a caloric deficit, training abs is doable. Although some beginners might just even start with 3 to 5 times a week in training your abs, in most specifically your abs, because the cramps is sometimes so unbearable that you cannot even do, like, in my experience, like the first time I did some of his 6 minute to 10 minute ab routine, I could barely even tie my shoe or even sit in the toilet. The same way you'd have unbearable DOMs after doing a very hard leg day as a novice. So that would be the first tip that I have learned and I am still doing and practicing up to this very day. And then the second one is isolation is key for growing small muscle groups. Although YouTube fitness industry was mugged and was being conquered by powerlifters from left to right, if you are aiming to have a very aesthetic and complete physique, Jeff was one of the guys that I have listened and take notice and took his advice in isolating muscle groups, most especially when I wanted to grow my arms and my shoulders. Jeff is known most not only for his obsession on faithfuls but also in obsessing about his arms, because I think he grew up training his arms more than any of his muscle group. That's why he has very well known developed biceps and arms in general. So although most of the fitness influencers that I have been following to this very day are implying and incorporating to their trainees, their clients, that isolation movements is key to building building a very complete and very more aesthetic physique, compared to what powerlifters are advising to most of the lifters from novice to even advanced, that compound lifts are enough in growing a very good physique. But the thing that Jeff Cavaliere has been pushing and enforcing to his subscribers and clients, obviously, is that if you want to grow a specific small muscle group, let's say a bicep, you'd inevit- you'd inevitably you'd inevitably bleh, I can't say the word inevitable. You'd have to do some type of curl, at least one specific variation inevitably. uh, I can't even say the word inevitable, but the point is, if you want to grow a specific muscle group in isolation, you have to do an isolation movement. Then the third good tip that I have learned from Jeff is good diet leads to better musculature gains, quality over quantity. So, like Jeff, I grew up skinny, from I think my kindergarten days up until my junior high. I think, at the bare minimum, I was like 45 kilos at best, most especially when I hit puberty. I went from 5'3" up to 5'8.5" or 5'9", which is my current height now. And because of that, I grew vertically and not horizontally, so I look more skinnier than ever. Then it was around the time that I discovered his channel, his name, in some of my recommended videos on YouTube, and one of them was his video with Jesse. I still remember Jesse, although I never watch AthleanX anymore. um, it was also the start of Jesse's journey in his body transformation. He was also a skinny individual like me, and he was advising skinny individuals that although you would eat large quantity or large mass of food, but if those large quantity of food that you're eating are not packed with quality nutrients, uh, you just you're just shooting yourself in the foot, and most definitely you just gain fat gains more than muscle gains, along with weight training. Although you'd be eating large quantity or large mass of food, but if it doesn't have the quality nutrients to sustain and make you grow and gain weight, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. So what I did was, growing up in a Filipino household, uh, wasting food is a no-no, and what I did was, I ate I just ate what I am normally used to eating. Back then, I would probably skip a meal or just eat half of what I am supposed to eat. So what I did was, I just I just added more than what I was normally I just added more or twice than what I am normally accustomed to. So if I was eating half a cup of rice, I will eat a full cup of rice or more. And alongside with doing bodyweight movements, bodyweight exercises in my bedroom, I actually noticed a lot of changes in my physique, most especially in my chest and my arms, and also in my abs. Although I was eating at a caloric surplus, obviously the newbie gains would start to take over more than even your body fat. Obviously, those are the newbie gains. So my body was starting to recomp, and from that day on, I avoided most, especially junk food, the sweet and salty foods that the kids used to love and binge over. I tend to pick home cooked meals, and even eating outside, I would rather eat in carinderias, to all the Filipinos that would probably see and watch this. You know what I mean? That's it. Next tip that I learned from Jeff that I still practice to this very day is that shoulder health is key. Uh, this is where his obsession with face pulls come into play. Although, uh, although sometimes I do face pulls for hypertrophy reasons. Back then, I would do tons and tons of cable face pulls on the cable machines, and this was before I was lifting weights. So the overuse, me doing tons and tons of push-ups, and more specifically, I was training more of the anterior chain of my body more than the posterior chain, led me to have poor posture, and I was prone to injuries, most especially in my shoulders. Then I started going at the gym at the year 2017. Then that is where I Im- implied and executed the importance of face pulls, and up to this very day, I would contribute it in Jeff's advice in doing face pulls at the very end of your workout. Then, last tip that I have learned from Jeff is making excuse is not an option. Exercise variation is key. Um, Even before the COVID-19 lockdown, I never made an excuse in not doing a workout if I didn't have the time or the opportunity in going to the gym. So, although my equipment is limited, I still have the discipline and motivation to do workout even at home. So, although his his advice and multiple videos about doing a lot of exercise variation is what helped me in becoming very consistent with my workout routine and progressing with my so his tip and helpful information in creating a lot of exercise variation is key in me becoming very consistent and not missing a workout. This actually is a double-edged sword that I would start pointing out in some of the bad things that I have learned from Jeff is he ingrains the fear of missing out on new exercises he invents and do every month. So I remember not very not I remember myself not being very consistent with one specific lift or exercises that I should progress and milk out the gains that I could gain from it, from up until that I can plateau on it and do another exercise variation or so on. So I think that's why he never runs out of ideas, is because uh, he implements the strategy of beginners or his subscribers. Most of them are beginners to begin with, like I used to be. Uh, that they should not miss out on every exercises that he invents almost every month. I remember like he'd have a very unique variation to a curl. Then I do it for few weeks. Then at the very next month, he'd he'd do another unique and new variation of a curl again at the very next month. So that is where I started to think and be very skeptical about his training advice and exercise variations. So that would be the first one that I noticed from him. And then the next one is he fearmongers and tells you to avoid specific exercises. Most most notably and most famous one would be the upright rows and leg extensions even. I think his fear mongering of exercises roots from his insecurities back when he was in high school. He actually, I don't know if his video about him telling his story about being insecure and being intimidated by the bigger guys at his school gym, uh, that led him to have a very big ego, and consequently it made him injured in both the squat and the bench press. um, that's why he tends to avoid these dreaded exercises that he used to call, uh, notably the upright rows, that I also used to avoid for a very long time. But now, from a personal experience, I've never even felt any shoulder discomfort in doing the easy bar variation of the upright row. Although sometimes I swap and rotate it with the dumbbell variation. Also, you could call it the high pull variation. I'd still like, in terms of leverage and performance and execution, I'd still do it like as if I am doing an easy bar upright row. Then his fear in doing leg extensions also root from him injuring himself because he ego lifted in a squat. If correct me if I'm wrong, because obviously I've mentioned from minutes earlier, he got intimidated by the bigger guys at his school gym back when he was in high school. Then the third one that I felt actually the third one the third or bad thing that I have learned from Jeff Cavaliere. Also, I fell at this very dreaded and miserable trap, is he pushes the notion in main gaining, even on novices. So to simply put, main gaining is, I think this is a bastard child or a bastard form of recomp, but in Jeff's point of view, main gaining is more sufficient and more optimal compared to a normal bulking and cutting phase, like what bodybuilders do off and on season, respectively. I just remembered being very afraid in putting excess weight and eating eating at a surplus just so I can keep and maintain my abs and that is the whole point of the main gaining. You, as long as you have abs, you are far more superior than an individual who bulks and quote unquote get fat. The downside in doing a main gaining is obviously, from an hormonal standpoint, staying at a very low body fat percentage is obviously very bad. And from a hypertrophy standpoint, it would be very long, although sure, it would be very possible to gain at least a pound of muscle from doing a main gaining phase. But the cost and benefit in doing it instead of just doing a normal bulking and cutting phase would probably do you more benefit than compared to you doing a main gaining phase wherein you just starve yourself just for the sake of having visible abs compared to having uh, a short term bulk that you can still cut for a short period of time or more. Then the next thing that I have learned from Jeff that gave me minimal to no results is he likes to juggle all things at once. I would like to put it when CrossFit and TikTok or IG influencer exercises had a bastard child. This is what I would like to call it. Um, what I mean is when he does, let's say, a full body routine. This is very notorious in some of his full body routines, especially during the pandemic. He'd like to superset one one exercise, but the downside is he does it in like a Tabata or hit fashion wherein it becomes more of a cardio based exercise more than a hypertrophy based exercises. Although I'm not saying that I don't hate supersetting antagonist or agonist muscles to even agonist exercise to begin with, but when he does this full body routines, when I the when you do it, like, you're actually targeting more of your cardio more than the muscle itself. Like, when you try to reinvent the wheel, at least stick to your lane. I never said that I dislike doing supersets on antagonist or even agonist muscle groups. The point is, if you are trying to do a video about full body routines, at least do it from an hypertrophy standpoint instead of doing it like this cardio routines that would never give you results whatsoever. Then the last straw that made me unfollow and unsubscribe to his channel is that he is a sellout. End of point. When he gets called out, he employs the power of fanboyism. Natural Hypertrophy made a very good video responding to like subscribers, instead of the figures that are getting called out address their own problems. They just let their subscribers become their personal security guard, their personal keyboard warriors that would defend their honor and integrity, for the sake that just because they're famous or they have more money than you, uh, that doesn't mean that you'd get to destroy their image, even though that They are the very sole reason that their image is destroyed, or their point being that they destroyed their own image and career because of some controversial statements or training philosophies that they do and state in their very own videos on their own platform. So that would be it in today's video. This would be my first, if not the first, probably, I won't say controversial, but I have to at least share this to unsuspecting and naive novices that are planning in following some sellout snake oil salesmen that are creeping around in this realm of the YouTube fitness industry. Um, I'm not sure if this would get famous or not, but if it so happens that you have succeeded and managed to get through the pass of this, get through the part of this video, why not give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't or not. If you happen to do so, click the notification bell. You'll be notified in me uploading in this YouTube channel. And that would be it. So, thank you for watching and have a good day.